Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of Dream Chasers Ground Zero. Today, I have with us Brian Wagers. Brian, would you mind just kind of sharing the story with us of your personal Ground Zero moment, and to piggyback off of that, some of the things that you learned along the way that helped you to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I would say ground zero would have to be I decided to get pretty heavily involved in the stock market. Thought I would have it figured out. I invested in a pharmaceutical company and a company called GoPro. GoPro at the time, they were trading around $35 a share. And I really wanted to go all in on GoPro. Um, that was before they decided to really dive into the drone industry. So they decided they weren't going to go the drone route. And pretty shortly after, they made some other financial decisions, and the stock went from 35 to $5 pretty much within a month. And I thought, I'd always grown up wanting to be, on the New York Stock Exchange, trading stocks, being a personal financial advisor. And I thought, that was really going to be my ticket, to really understand the stock market and the exchanges. And that was kind of a aha moment for me. I realized I had so little control over what a CEO does with their company, and, a little control over what the stock market decides to do. So it was all my own personal fun. So lost that, and that was a big aha moment for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And just kind of going off of what you said there, I know you said that you thought that was your thing and you really kind of wanted to put all your cards on the table for that specific instance. How were you able to kind of bounce back from that and think on your feet per se, where you were then able to, obviously learn from that, but then also channel that into your next thing?
Yeah. So I was really motivated. I had the entrepreneur spirit, and I thought, maybe if I had this figured out, that I could really scale it up and, start offering services and collaborate with other people. I was starting another business, a logistics business at the time, and I was starting to get systems in place there. So that really kind of led me to want to do something else besides my logistics business. I had three people working for me at the time, or one full timer and two part time people working for me. So I was starting to get some traction there, and from there, I was really reading a lot on wealth building. I was always fascinated by creating my own wealth, generational wealth. I didn't come from, you know, like lower class or anything like that, but, lower middle class family, me and my mom growing up. So I think that maybe drove me even more. My mom's side of the family had a lot of entrepreneurs. My grandpa had his own heating and air conditioning, small time thing. So I had that itch, and all of my education led me to either the stock markets or real estate. So, I tried the stock market with my own money, and, I thought, okay, that's not something I really have control of, or what I was educated enough to have control of. So, that's when I really dove into real estate. I made a big pivot from wanting to go into the stock market to getting into the real estate industry.
Yeah, and that's a big change for sure. I just want to, how old were you kind of at this time,
I was
of
about
these kind of shifts?
25. So I'm 30, I'm
Okay.
30 now. And so that was about 5 years ago.
Okay, awesome. I'm just trying to think of seeing someone like myself right now. Like I'm still in school, but like I'm recognizing what you mean and like going through these changes where like you're all in on one thing, but then you realize, okay, maybe not. So then I'm going into these other things. And I'm just thinking about like somebody in, say, like someone like my shoes, where I haven't really had a huge opportunity to kind of dip my foot into different things like in the world yet. Where somebody who doesn't necessarily know what their thing is, what would you kind of say to that person that hasn't, like I said, hasn't had a lot of opportunity to try a bunch of different things, but thinks they may be on one thing now? What would you say to that person?
Personally, I would say you don't have to have it figured out. I would say try to focus on one thing at a time. If I hadn't been doing my logistics business, for 3 years, and I had tried to just get started in the logistics industry and then try to do something else, I think the logistics industry would have suffered. So, I up until my senior year of college, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. I was taking the Kaplan LSAT classes. I was taking all the extra courses, and then I got put on a wait list at the University of Kentucky, which means you aren't in, but you aren't out, and they'll let you know at the end of the summer. So I started just networking and trying to find jobs, and where I could really build like commission-based jobs. So I knew I wanted something where I was going to put in the work, I was going to get some sort of result. I didn't want a salary, so I interviewed with companies like Northwestern Mutual, with some other smaller insurance companies. So really just companies that gave you the ability to grow your own book of business. And I think, and you want leaders in the sales industry. I think for me, as entrepreneur at heart, that really helped me, learn sales. I think sales is an essential key for any industry. You're selling, if you're an accountant, you're selling yourself when you're going in for an interview, or you're selling your services. So I think sales is a huge skill to learn for no matter what you may decide to go into. I'm a big proponent of people learning the sales before they figure it out. So I was reading a lot of self-help books, a lot of like classic sales books, Zig Ziglar, even Grant Cardone, love him or hate him. He's got he pushes the work ethic and a lot of good sales tactics. Dale Carnegie was another one that I dove into. So for me, it was really just focusing on sales for the first 3 years out of college, getting into a sales job and really diving into it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know, just kind of based on some of the stories that you've told so far, you kind of banked back on a lot of books mentioned so far. Do you have any kind of in particular that you might recommend to, say, a young entrepreneur looking to kind of, start building skills in the business now, or just kind of really any that you would recommend?
Yeah, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Great one about, really compounding results. Who Not How is one I'm reading right now, about making sure you're working with the right people and it's not about how, but getting the right people on your team. The Secret, there's a documentary and there's a book. It kind of goes on Napoleon Hill's The Law of Attraction ideas about really putting something in your mind and not necessarily just wishing for it to happen, but having a strong desire to have something, and you'll start to naturally gravitate towards that. So I think those are some good ones to get started. The 10X rule, like Grant Cardone, is a good one too. I recommend.
Yeah, definitely all good ones for sure. And I know, just kind of like based on what you sorry, I stumbled a little bit. Based on kind of the story that you shared so far, looking back on those experiences, not only like with the college experience that you said where you had thought you were going to come out and be a lawyer, and then had to kind of switch gears from there, and then the financial mishap that you mentioned when you were 25. Just kind of looking back on those experiences, what do you think is one thing like that now that you wish you had known then that would have helped to be more successful to this point?
Yeah, I think, I think during that happened, I knew I was going to be successful. And I think, I can kind of tell with you're getting your foot set, and you're going to be successful, but you just don't know what you're going to do with it yet. You haven't figured out your exact why. I don't even know some people would say I'm successful right now, but I don't have my strong why. I may not have that strong why yet, but I know I want to be doing whatever I'm doing 100% and giving it my all. So, it's cheesy or classic or, old, it's basic. Some of the basic things that we think are so basic, we just forget. And I think that Dale Carnegie talks a lot about that too, but just really having that strong desire and willpower to really push through any kind of adversity. So, the stock market, I knew I could quickly pivot to real estate. So I just dove in and started educating myself on real estate, listening to podcasts like this, listening to podcasts on my way to work, on my way home, making kind of giving up weekends and weeknights. I used to go out, 2 times a week. Now I don't go out at all, and it's just kind of, it's what you're willing to sacrifice, I think, is really going to help push you to get how far you want to get.
Yeah, and speaking on sacrifices real quick, I know that obviously at my age, there's a lot of people going through that kind of specific struggle, because like obviously people being in the college world, there's a lot of peer pressure and things going on, as well as the pressure of like figuring out what you want to do with your life. And a lot of people really enjoy, spending their weekends just letting loose, going out, having fun, whatever exactly you want to call that. But kind of looking back on like your personal experiences and the mention of sacrifice that we just had, what would you kind of say to like those students now that say want to put more of like that have this dream and this vision of like you said, like they know that they're going to be successful, but they don't have that why. They don't exactly know where they fit into the world yet, but they also feel a little bit overwhelmed thinking about all of those things. So then they take that time and like throw it kind of all away on the weekends and go party and do those things. What would you kind of say to that person?
I mean, if you really are truly wanting to get, ahead, you're going to have to make a sacrifice. And yet to myself, I think my freshman year, I started out going maybe out 3 times a week, then sophomore year, maybe 2 times, and then junior year and senior year, like 1 time. And then I really just cut it out. You have to give up what other people think about you. If you're not making it to the party, or if you're not there at the social event, have a chip on your shoulder. Where are they going to be 3 to 5 years? Are you really going to 3 to 5 years from now? Are you going to look back and wish that you had went out with your buddies, friends of a friend's birthday party that you barely even know, or maybe you read something that was a golden nugget that you're going to take away and you had an aha moment that night, or you made a connection the next morning, you woke up and had coffee with someone in your network of someone that you want to be like, the next morning, and you were 100% going to it. So I think really just having that long-term vision, and especially at a younger age, I think you don't have to have a super long-term vision. Some people think, man, where am I going to be in 20 to 30 years? But just think 1 year. I think most people, what is that? It's a Tony Robbins quote. It's like a lot of people overestimate what they can get done in a year, but underestimate what they can get done in 3 to 5 years. So I think really, break down your goals, 5-year goals, 3-year goals, 1-year goals. That really helped me, envision laying out that map. And then even from there, if it helps you, you can make monthly goals. So you're tracking your targets for that year goal. Or you want to lay out some metrics for your year goal. How much you want to make, or what do you want to do with your life, or how many connections you want to make. And so for that month or that week, what are your daily actions? Am I reaching out to 10 people in this industry a week? Have I sent out 20 emails this week for potential people that I want to network with and learn from? So I think having those metrics and goals would be super helpful for you. When you make those decisions, is this getting me closer to my goal? Is this getting me closer to my 3-year plan, my 5-year plan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really great point that you just shared there. I know a few weeks back I had an interview with Anthony Vicino. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but in that interview we had a discussion about I don't remember exactly the name of the rule, but when you make decisions like that, you're either moving forwards or backwards. And like he said, you could think of it in terms of almost like a number scale. And he's like, either your decision gives you a +1 and you move a step closer to that goal, or whatever decision you make gives you a -1, but there's really no in between. And every once in a while, like if you just choose to do, I don't want to say make the wrong decision, but if you choose something that's not moving you towards your goal, technically you lose that +1 and you lose 1. So that's kind of like that 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of scenario there, where like you're not actually going -2, but you're losing that chance to go forward as well. So really you are moving even further backwards. So just thought that was a really great point. It helped me kind of wrap my head around that concept, kind of just based off of what you were just saying there.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're stepping back, you're not staying back there too long. That it's just part of the process. Everyone's seen all the memes or whatever, success, what people think success looks like or failure. I mean, it can be like that, but I think setting your low, each time you go up, you're setting a new barrier. Here, this was the lowest kind of performance I was going to have, but now I go up, then I come back down, and you're setting your new lows or your new, break even points or your new barriers to entry. So you just keep pushing that new base for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing, kind of just based on like what we were just talking about there, is that like in order for you to set all those goals for yourself and have that like vision and clarify that vision of where you want to go and how to get there, it requires intention. Like you have to be intentional about where you want to go. And that's where like you think about that one step forward, two steps back concept. Are you going to be intentional about that vision, about getting to that point that wherever you see yourself in 5 years, 5 months, whatever that number is? Or are you not as intentional as you quite felt and you're going to spend some more time, going to your friends, cousins, brothers, aunt's birthday party,
Exactly.
like just depending on those things. So that's where it takes that kind of hard nose stubbornness to get to those points that you want to go. And that's where, like, I know you've mentioned that a couple times today as well. I want to ask what you personally use, if there's any kind of techniques or books or anything that you have or use to kind of help you stay focused and motivated on your personal goals and help you continue pushing to get better.
So a lot of people are big proponents of the Hal Elrod's The Miracle Morning. So I kind of take into practice some of those things. I don't do them literally, but I mean, since I've really got on a schedule and been strict about it, I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. I wake up and besides that, on Sunday nights, my ritual starts by I'm laying out my workout clothes for the week. I'm laying out what I'm going to wear for the week. So that's just one less thing that I'm thinking about during the day. Sometimes I don't really think about what I'm going to wear, but sometimes you might sit there and think about it. If you have it laid out, that's when your week gets busy and when shit hits the fan, you're going to be okay to just one less thing to think about. And you have more energy to think about other things. I also meal prep on Sunday. So I'll get all my lunches pretty much ready for a week. And then dinners. My wife now does it. She was my girlfriend at the time, but now my wife, she helps on that so I can do other things too. But so I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. Sometimes I try to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book, maybe journal. Then I'm at the gym at 5 a.m. and then from 5 to 6, work out. That for me is work. It's rough in the beginning. I'll tell you, like I've done a lot of research, and a lot of entrepreneurs, who are super successful, they preach about getting up early, and getting your day started early. So it's rough a little bit at first, but once your body gets used to it after a couple months, you start to kind of crave it. So that's been a big help for me. I honestly just use my Outlook calendar in my phone. So I don't, people don't get hung up on all the fancy, some people get like crazy about all the apps and stuff like that, but maybe I'm good with tech, but I'm not super good with tech. So I just use Outlook reminders, daily lists. Who is it? Andy Frisella talks about the power list. That's a good one too. Like you add 5 things that you have to get done that day. So you do that the night before, you're reviewing that the morning of. If it doesn't get done, then you add it to your list the next day. And you can go in deeper of it, certain aspects of it. And then you do that for 21 days. And some of those things start to become habits. We talk about calls or talk about emailing. So you're emailing or calling people for 10 or 21 days, and that becomes a habit. So writing stuff down, writing your goals down, putting it on calendars, and really following up on this every day, structuring out your week, getting your week started on Sunday, big proponent of that. Another reason, I really stopped going out was, Sundays are a whole new day when you're not hungover. You're clear-minded. You've got the full day of really setting up your week. And that's the same principle behind getting up super early. You're setting up your day for success.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love everything that you said there. And there's a lot of powerful nuggets that, just young contenders, whether or not, like specific age doesn't exactly matter, but just stuff that people can start implementing, as early as tomorrow to kind of start shifting themselves onto a better path that's just more productive. So I really love everything that you just shared there. And I know we've talked about a few different times now, just kind of like advice from mentors or, modeling success from other people. Like you mentioned, Andy's Power 5 list. I think it was the power list that you just said, just kind of different things like that, picking up what successful people are doing or people that you at least view as successful in a position that you would like to be, and kind of taking those things and incorporating them into your own life. But going back to the mentor bit a little bit, I know that mentorship has been really powerful for me so far, and it's definitely something that I push to the people that I talk to, and it definitely has been on this show as well. I just want to ask what you personally think might be the best piece of advice you've received from a mentor is.
I mean, mentors are great. I'm at the point in my life where I've past couple of years, I've paid tens of thousands of dollars for mentorship through different mentors. But I wasn't at a point where I could do that in college or right after college. I was trying to make tens of thousands of dollars, not spend tens of thousands of dollars on mentorship. So I think emulating people, in the industry or industries that you want to be like. So it even starts with if you're having those habits, that's good too. But, on a local level, try to find what people are doing that you think you would like to be doing. Start meeting up with those people. And that might even give you more help on what you want to do in the future too. If you talk, hey, just want to you reach out to them and say, hey, I admire what you're doing. Love to, a lot of people are open to meeting with college students. I think even after college, they're like, okay, what are you selling me? But if they see you're in college or fresh out of college, for me, I see myself in that person and I want to help them, whether, hey, can I buy you coffee? Great coffee meetings are great. Can I buy you coffee, or can I buy you, offer to buy them coffee or lunch, 15, 30 minutes, depending on their level of success, just reach out to them, want to see what their life looks like. You're interested in getting in their industry. Don't make it long when you're reaching out to someone like that, keep it short. Because it's their time is valuable, and you don't want to be wasting that. And there's only so much value you can add as a college or fresh out of college student. But if you can buy them lunch or coffee, they usually will be open to that. You're not going to get everyone's not going to respond either. So you have to have some thick skin and don't get offended if someone's not going to respond. They may be super busy, so it's just on to the next person. And maybe if they didn't see your initial response, it's okay to follow up too, as long as you're not being, there is a fine line of following up and being pesky or, getting on their nerves. So I think, like I mentioned, just reach out and tell them, you'd like to buy them coffee or lunch and pick their brain, not even say, I wouldn't say pick their brain, because that's, I may have said that 5 years. I feel like that's a really overused term right now. Someone's like, hey, I want to pick your brain. That means it's just want to ask me a bunch of questions or waste my time. So make it relevant. Say something about the industry that's they're in, or something about hey, I see you guys just did this project. That's really great. You're doing something that I would like to do. I'd love to buy you coffee or lunch, and sit down with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a truly great piece of advice, and it's definitely something that we've heard numerous times on this show. So it's definitely something that I'm glad we're reiterating, because the more and more we say it, I'm hoping that it sets in with more and more people. So that for sure is huge. And I think a lot of that just comes back to intention. You have to decide if you're going to be intentional about meeting those people and having those conversations and being around those people, getting into that lifestyle that you want to build for yourself. You have to put yourself out there. You have to, take that uncomfortable step and take that action to reach out to those people. And yeah, they might say no. They might, they might just be busy people, like you said. Like, it's not always a bad thing, but you just have to have that thick skin, like you mentioned, and kind of keep trying, keep looking for those connections. And especially at a young age, just do what you can to make an impression on that person. You don't have to come in and knock their socks off with some over the top scheme that you put together. And no, it doesn't have to be like that. Just come in, just be personable, ask them real questions about what you really want to know, not about what they drink on Saturday nights or whatever, because a lot of them don't waste their time doing that anymore. It's depending how high up the chain you look, but that's also a side conversation we don't necessarily have to dive into. But as I'm saying, that comes back to intention. You just have to make that active decision and say, okay, this is how I'm going to spend my time. And yes, I want to try to meet up with, ABC for coffee this week instead of being hungover Sunday morning. So and then you have to take that step the first time and then follow it up, do it again the next week. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a weekly thing, but you'll slowly start to feel yourself pull away from those old habits and set into the new ones. Like you said, that just over that time, as you continue to kind of condition yourself to those new habits and traits, you'll start to crave those new ones rather than the old ones. And all of a sudden you'll catch yourself being a lot more productive than you previously were. And that's all, all of a sudden the snowball is rolling, and you'll just continue to gain traction from there.
That's right, man. That's you hit it on the head. And like you said, you don't have to blow someone's socks off. You're getting better each time too. You're getting values. You're getting lessons. You're working through your process, and your habits are getting better. And you get new habits, and those habits become, meeting someone new and someone that's high up the ladder. That becomes nothing. That becomes just a regular practice for you. At first, it might seem overwhelming, but it's just part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and even you said it yourself that not like, I don't want to give it like a specific percentage, but a lot of these people that are in these, upper level positions or whatever exactly you want to call it, will look back on, especially like coming from a college student, they will look back on their own personal experience and they want to help you. That's where like a lot of people have, there's like this stigma that people are going to say no, or people are going to cuss you out for bothering them or whatever. Like it's just an email. Either they're going to read it or they're not. If it's a waste of their time, they're not going to respond to you. That's one thing. But an overwhelming majority, higher than what you would think, of these people are going to read your email and they're going to think about their own personal experience and they're going to say, wow, I remember when I was there. I'm going to do what I can to help this kid. And that might not even necessarily be having a personal conversation with you, but they might be able to point you in the direction of somebody that can help you. And that's where like a lot of people just kind of have to shed that fear, I guess you could say, of being stood up or whatever you want to call it there. If somebody doesn't respond or says no, like that's okay. But at the same time, there's still a lot more people out there that do want to help you than you realize, and you don't even know them yet. So you have to you have to take that step, kind of put yourself into those situations in order to receive that help.
No one's going to find out about you if you don't tell them about you. No one's if you don't put yourself out there, you're not going to be found or connect with anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I do know you mentioned that you have a webinar coming up here, so I do think it's about time to start winding this down. I definitely want to make sure that you have time to prepare for that. So in closing, the question that I always like to ask the guests is that if you could go back and have a conversation with yourself in that ground zero moment, like yours specifically was that stock market incident that you talked about earlier. If you could go back and have a conversation with yourself in that moment, what do you think you would tell yourself?
Don't second guess your next move. Go all in and go fast. So go back and don't just dip your toe in the waters. Have the same confidence and go forward with as much as you can.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great piece too. And something that I've heard, numerous times from the people that I've talked to above me is don't dip your toes. Like if you're going to go for it because like you said, go all in and go fast, because in that time you're putting everything into it, and success loves speed. That's where you putting everything into that, the ball is going to start moving a lot quicker. And yeah, you might hit a dead end and you realize, whoa, I don't like this. Or you realize, whoa, that didn't work. And yeah, you'll have to change gears, but that's what entrepreneurship's about, is more or less failing repeatedly until you figure out how everything works. And even at like a young age, that's just how it works. You just don't call it entrepreneurship yet. So that's really life to me. But at the same time, like it's a really valuable lesson that, when you put all of your energy into those things, yeah, they might not always work out. But at the same time, if you hit it hard and fast, the odds of you succeeding are much higher than you just kind of tiptoeing out there and really never making any noise.
That's right. You said it perfectly.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, I really, really appreciate you taking the time and speaking with us today. You truly rocked it today. I really appreciate you taking the time and just coming in to share with us. If anybody wants to follow up and get in touch with you after this recording does air, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn or any of the social medias, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Putting a lot of content out for our commercial real estate business there. So, or shoot me an email, Brian@Wagers Capital. You can put Dream Chasers in the subject line so I know where you found me.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. Hit him up if you have any questions. I know the guy's glad to help. He said it in the interview, if you made it that far anyway. So those of you who truly want the help, there it is. Thank you again, Brian. I do really, really appreciate this. So with that, everyone, always remember, this is Dream Chasers Ground Zero, and there's nowhere to go from here. But thanks again, Brian.
No problem.